Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're making this delicious peppered puff puff. If you like puff puff, this is one that you have to try. This peppered puff puff is so tasty, chewy, delicious. I can't wait to show you guys how I made this. So to start, you would need some basic ingredients, which are all-purpose flour, sugar, salt, nutmeg, yeast, and some warm water. We're also going to need some peppers and onions. So right here I have one sweet pepper and one onion. I'm not going to be using all of them. I will leave a list of the full ingredients and measurements in my description box, so make sure to check it out. The first thing I'll do is to chop my peppers and onions. I'm using a chopper. You can use a knife to also do this. So once this is done, I will set it aside for later. The next step is to mix all the ingredients together. So I have my all-purpose flour in a bowl. I am going to add my sugar, salt, nutmeg, and my yeast. I'm using some instant dry yeast. If you are using some active yeast, you have to proof it first before using it. I'm just going to mix all the dry ingredients together first, and then add some water. The temperature of the water you use for puff puff is very important. The water should not be too hot or too cold. It should be warm, perfectly warm. So I'm using some warm water to mix, and as you guys can see, I'm adding it in bit by bit. Be careful not to pour all the water in at a time, because that will ruin everything about your puff puff. So you want to add the water in bit by bit, and I'm using a spatula to mix. Continue to mix until you get a stretchy consistency. The next step is to add in the onions and peppers. So I'm adding in 1 tablespoon each of my onions and peppers. You can add more or you can add less. After adding your peppers, give it a good mix, and then we're going to cover this batter and let it sit for about 45 minutes to an hour. It all depends on the temperature of your room. So on the day I made this video, my kitchen was kind of cold, so I had to put this in my microwave because my microwave is warm. So if the temperature of your room is cold, then it will take at least an hour or even longer for the batter to rise. But if your kitchen is warm enough, it can take about 45 minutes. So I'm going to leave this for about an hour in my microwave. So this is about 50 minutes later, and you guys can see the batter has doubled in size. So I'm going to use a spatula to stir to remove all that air, and then we'll move on to the next stage. Finally, we are ready to fry our peppered puff puff. So at this point, we're going to heat up some oil in the pot. Make sure the oil is enough to deep fry your puff puff. Another thing you need to pay attention to is the heat. Please make sure the heat is not too high and not too low. If it is too high, then the puff puff will be cooked on the outside. It will just be beautifully brown on the outside, but inside will not be cooked at all. And if it is too low, it will soak up a lot of oil. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure the heat is perfect. This is how I test to know if my oil is ready for frying. I put a tiny piece of the batter into the oil, and once it rises up like this and starts floating on top of the oil, then you know it is ready for frying. Start cutting or scooping the batter into the oil. I'm using my hand to do this, and let me just warn you in advance. Puff puff batter is very sticky. It is annoyingly sticky. So if you find this difficult, or if you struggle to do this, I will advise you to use either a spoon or an ice cream cutter or a measuring spoon. They all work very well. Cut in as many balls as possible into the oil, and use a skewer or a spoon to continue to turn this frequently until it all turns golden brown. I would say about 5 to 6 minutes in the oil is fine. But once you achieve this beautiful golden brown color, then you know your puff puff is ready. You guys, my peppered puff puff is ready. But before I start eating, I'm going to remove this and continue frying the rest of the batter. And I'll just let this cool down, and then I'll get a glass of cold Coke Zero. That's my favorite, Coke Zero or Fanta. to enjoy this beautiful snack. But before I do that again, let me cut it open so that you guys can see it from inside. Just look at that. It looks so yummy. It is very chewy, very soft, very moist, and so delicious. I really hope you give this recipe a try. You will love it. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, and follow me if you are not. I love you all, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.